Why should Nigerians vote for you as president and vice president come February?
Thank you. Good evening, Nigerians and those in the audience tonight. Nigeria has been around for 58 years, led by men with little or no ideas on how to move a nation from any destination to the other. And as a result, what you have as a nation today, what was started as a nation has become a business. Nigeria is not working for the people of Nigeria, it's working only for a few people that continue to enjoy at the expense of a majority. And as a young person, in 1989, Nigeria's biggest problem was taking power from a bunch of military men and giving it to a majority through a democratic process. That was why I was expelled twice from the university and ended up spending 6 years instead of 4 years. I was attacked, I was jailed, I was beaten, I was tortured. But luckily in 1999, we had democratic rule. But what could have been democratic rule, with due respect, became a moronocratic rule, where morons ride roughshod on the Nigerian people. We are young people who have been exposed, who have intellects, who have capacity, and who have seen the rest of the world. We've seen the best of two worlds, Nigeria and elsewhere. And we've also seen the best of even the worst of the two worlds. Today, we are here with fresh ideas. We are here with innovative ideas. We're here able to mobilize Nigerian people. We are here to mend a country that has been broken by misgovernance and wickedness and corruption. And we are also here with solutions that match the aspirations of our people. And we are also here ready to confront with courage the leadership that mismanage our opportunities and have destroyed our past and are now trying to hijack and kidnap our future. We are also here able to speak on behalf of those who have been destroyed, whose opportunities have been, of course, mismanaged over all these years by these leaders. They are here crying for help, and we are here leading the charge on their behalf. And we believe, and we understand, and we know that given the opportunity, we can put the misery.
Under this administration, yes, for example,
yes,
and the previous administration, yes, power was privatized, all apart from the transmission network. Hang on. Distribution as well as generation.
Yes.
And we had private sector people coming.
Yes.
And so I'm trying to understand, how does your plan differ from what we have currently? And I'd also like Dr. Rufai at some point to jump in, because under the Constitution, as VP, he's also head of the Economic Council.
Yes.
So I'd like to get a sense as well from him.
I want to correct the impression that power was privatized. Power wasn't privatized. They wanted to deregulate and privatize the power sector. They did the privatization, they didn't do the deregulation. Built their own generating stations so that we can have power. They didn't have one. We sold what belonged to Nigeria at under the market price to the same people who then turned around, got subventions from our government, and that was how the PDP spent $16 billion generating darkness in this country. This government has continued the same thing. So when you claim that you want to deregulate and you don't deregulate so that there's no competition, okay, and you say you are privatizing and you are giving to your friends,
okay,
you are not going to have power.
You come in today.
Yes.
What are you going to do?
I have said it, and I'm repeating here again, that we come in today, we are hooking up solar panels for 4,000. We are creating, solar farms that will generate 4,500 megawatts of power. We are going to do 90 kilowatts per university, right? And we are going to do solar farms across the country for 500 megawatts each. It takes less than, please, if you listen to me, I'll deliver this to you so that Nigerians can hear it. It takes less than a year. It took Egypt less than 2.5 years to do 14,000 megawatts at 500,000 naira per megawatts of power. It's the cheapest in the world. Here we can even do it cheaper because we have plenty of cheap labor to do it. I'm not saying we are going to abuse labor here. And it's the same cement who came to Nigeria trying to do the same thing, and people were asking them for bribes that went to Rascom, a state-owned power company in Egypt, to deliver the same. This is public information. You need leadership here. We don't have it.
I'm trying to understand.
That's the problem. You need innovation. We don't have it.
Because we do have a Power Act, I'm sure you know.
That what?
We have a policy and a law that has deregulated the sector.
Well, I'm telling you that there's no deregulation because...
I'm trying to understand from the point of view of someone who becomes president,
yes,
because you will have to work within the law, and I'm assuming that's it. So I'm trying to get a sense of, so for example, if you say you're going to build solar power plants,
yes,
are these solar power plants going to be owned by government? Who's going to give you the money for that? Those are the kind of questions I'm looking for answers for.
And I have answered it partially, that it happened in Egypt, it happened in Morocco, and there are people who are looking for places where they can build power stations, make their money, and let people enjoy power.
So you're just going to open up the market, basically.
Of course, that is what deregulation was supposed to be in the first place, is to give license to people who will come and generate power, not to sell what belongs to the Nigerian people to friends or politicians, and then give them subventions. And now, when there's even 3,000 extra to be evacuated, they don't do it because it doesn't bring profit to them. It is a cannibalistic system of power generation that is killing us. And people who are in the power business can testify to this. I'm telling you that we need leaders who are courageous enough to face these people who are making it impossible for Nigeria to make progress. It's not an argument between you and I, it's an argument.
Yes. My name is BC Alagbe. I'm an entrepreneur and an investor. A patriotic Nigerian, I would like to think. Mr. Sowore, according to the World Bank and the United Nations, Nigeria's annual population growth rate as of 2017 was 2.6% population growth rate. Incidentally, our population is also 2.6% of the world population. But our GDP annual growth rate is only 0.8%. This trend indicates that our population is growing at a faster pace than our wealth as a nation. As far as I'm concerned, if my neighbor is richer, I'm richer. My neighbor is poor, I don't care how much money is in my bank account, I am poorer. You understand that in the economies of nations. Now, my question to you, sir, is what do you have in mind as a plan to mitigate this trend and make Nigeria a wealthy nation?
Okay. Thank you, sir.
So with regards to population, we've passed that period in the history of mankind that population can become a liability. Some of the fastest growing nations in the world today, China and India, are relying on their population to become wealthy. But without investment in our population, we can't be wealthy, even if we are 5 people in Nigeria. The truth is that we are not investing in the areas that can make our population become productive in a way that we can turn them to the new resource that can make Nigeria become a prosperous nation. We are not investing in education, we are not investing in health, we are not investing in technology, and certainly we are not investing in infrastructure and human security. And it is this investment, I wish that this question came after we have spoken about our own Spicer hit that the VP was talking about. That is talking about 10 areas of intervention in Nigeria's institutional life under our government, in which that human resource of Nigeria, because oil is lazy the economy, ladies and gentlemen, oil is not the future. And definitely it is not the way we are doing things now that is the future. It's our people, the Nigerian people, who are out there.
You will need? What sort of budget are you looking at to be able to hire 200,000 teachers immediately, 160,000 health workers, to boost power from, did you say, to 17,000
megawatts?
Megawatts,
yes.
And all of the other things that you've listed in your agenda. I want numbers.
Yes.
And how you intend to raise the money.
So with regards to power,
yes,
to get us from the miserable 7,000 megawatts to 24,000, adding 17,000 megawatts, we expected to invest about $10 billion.
Where are you
and
getting
$10
that
billion
money from?
will come from investors who are interested in making their money the same way we had investors come in with telecommunication companies, and in 1 year, MTN took out $13 billion out of this country from profit.
You've been ruling Nigeria now for close to 3, almost 4 years. You want Nigerians to give you another opportunity to do another 4 years. Why?
Well, I said it much earlier at our National Executive Committee of our party, that if my party recommends me to its executive, I will contest. And I did that to save time and wide discussions among members of the party. So those who felt very strongly about it, they left the party, and the party nominated me. Why? Is because I felt that the 3 fundamental objectives we campaigned on in 2015 are still relevant. And we want to remind Nigerians to see when we started, 2015, where we are now, what we have been able to do in between this time of 3.5 years with the resources and the time available to us.
My name is Usman Abubakar, a teacher. How soon will the National Livestock Development Plan will be implemented so as to address the challenges facing this sector? Thank you, Mr. Vice.
Livestock.
Huh?
Livestock plan.
National Livestock.
I will talk about it. I'll talk about it. I'm the chairman of the
What is it?
Okay.
National Livestock
Thank
Plan.
you, sir.
Oh, livestock plan.
Yes.
And the conflict going on between farmers and herdsmen.
No,
Yeah, so the conflict,
raise your voice.
the conflict between farmers
And
and herdsmen, yes, and herders.
Well, what happened started from Benue State was unfortunate. And we foresaw that. When I say we, I mean the federal government. And we asked the Minister of Agriculture and Rural Development to go to the archives and find out the gazettes from the First Republic where those incredible leadership of the First Republic, there was cattle route, there was grazing areas. With limited resources, they put windmills, earth dams, and even veterinary clinics. But subsequent very important personalities encroached on the cattle routes, on the grazing areas. And if a herder has 200 cattle, they have just eaten, whichever their way to the water point, they will just go through there. And I think the Minister of Agriculture and Water Resources have produced the maps, the encroachment.
Not declaring. This is what is topical now, and I'm wondering whether that is the case you're referring to.
I'm sorry, you have to repeat that question again.
Okay. Let me ask it another way. You've talked about people who do wrongdoing and being investigated. There are cases of people that are thought to be very close to you. An example is the former secretary to the federal government, Malam Babachir, allegedly accused of taking money that was meant for IDPs and awarding contracts to himself. As far as we know, the EFCC has not investigated him, even though he has lost his job. He is one of few other examples of people who are in government, who've got petitions against them in front of the EFCC, and the EFCC is not investigating. And the general perception is that the reason why those investigations are not taking place is because these are people who are either close to the government or who are in government.
Well, I'm not too clear about your question, but if you can mention the names.
I'll give you an example.
Yes.
I said Babachir, the former SGF, the Minister of Housing, Mr. Raji Fashola. There's a petition in front of the EFCC by an NGO. And as far as I know, that has not been investigated. So I'm trying to understand whether you are aware of these things and if this is part of, as it is alleged, part of a policy not to investigate people in government.
Well, we can't, to be fair to individuals, I told you why I have to be careful. And if anybody, the public should help us, if there are strong allegations and people backed it up by evidence, bank accounts, names of companies floated, contracts awarded, then we take them before the courts through EFCC and ICPC. And we have to trust the system and allow them to complete the investigation. If we just take people in, as we did during the military area, and lock them up, this system, the present system, multi-party democratic system, does not approve that. If you accuse any person, you have to produce the evidence in court for him to be prosecuted. So if there is strong allegation, the government may decide to ask people to go, like the former secretary to the government you mentioned. We ask him to go. But if anybody...
But the question is, after asking him to go, how come he hasn't been prosecuted, which is what Nigerians are wondering. If there was a strong enough evidence to ask him to go, it means there's an indication that maybe he did something wrong. Why hasn't he been presented before a court and charged with corrupt practices?
I think the matter is already before the EFCC, and I believe that, in fact, a directive has been issued regarding all persons who have cases before the EFCC. I'm sure that you will find that each and every person who has an allegation against them and has been duly investigated will be put on trial, without a doubt. Each person.